Morning. Welcome to Sunday school. All right, so I found that because of copyright reasons, because I was playing Fela music, there are some countries where huge chunk of what we did last week, especially before the actual sermon itself got started, huge chunk of that was unavailable in several countries because of copyright reasons, because I was playing Fela's music in the background. So I'm going to refrain from doing that going forward. I'm not looking to plagiarize anybody's work, and I really do not want to have a situation where people are denied the pleasure of what some of us can enjoy. So I'm going to be cutting out the Fela music part, not because I don't want to. Maybe what I'll do in future is put out something of like how do I put it now? Like a playlist, because almost each and every one of Fela's music, like I've said multiple times, lessons in civic education, really. So I would encourage as much as possible each and every one of you get familiar with Fela's music. So I think what we'll do this morning, okay, so we need to do Sunday school before 10 o'clock and the others are here. You would always find those of us who are here, but what do I want to talk about before then? What do you reckon we should talk about? You would like us to talk about the Supreme Court. Did I say the Supreme Court? No, the Supreme Court. No, Supreme Court. Yes. The Supreme Court's judgment. There is nothing to talk about there now. Think about it. What we want to say, we never talked before. Like seriously, there is really nothing to say that hasn't been said in relation to the Supreme Court judgment. I'll leave better qualified persons, SANs, to speak to the merits or demerits, equity or inequities of that judgment. I have nothing to say for now related to that. But let's just say that we've all been blessed with an uncommon judicial striptease. So I hope you've had fun. At least you've been adequately introduced to the Nigerian legal system. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm trying to run away from going into the body of my intended sermon this morning. I'm really, really struggling to avoid getting into it. So I don't know what to start the day with. So does anybody, at least one of you guys who are still busy typing away, I can see you. Does anybody want to ask a question you want us to deal with this body before we start the sermon? We've got all of 7 minutes, and it wouldn't be right to start before they come. Since we say, oh, stay home. Okay. All right, but there is something actually. I gave a lecture or a sermon or a talk, whatever you want to make of it. I was at the Realm of Glory International, where I was blessed with the pulpit by the pastor, Pastor Aidogmo, and I spoke about Tale of Two Nations. I'll be looking to come back to that theme pretty soon, because there was something I said in the course of that lecture where I spoke to the fact that everything is always about an idea, that it is an idea that is governing Nigeria, and that it is that idea that has brought us to this point, that idea is what is ruling Nigeria, and that is the idea of feudalism. I spoke at some length to that issue in that talk. I will be looking to revisit the issue because it has become pertinent that we now deal with it, because you actually cannot defeat a bad idea by reacting to it. You can only defeat any idea, for that matter, by projecting a superior idea found on truthful precepts and principles, if you are ever going to defeat an evil idea. And if the truth be told, there are existentially evil ideas undergirding the Nigerian state as it currently exists. The proof of the evil that has overtaken our space can be found in almost every aspect of the country that we have built. So what you find very quickly is that the design intentions cannot be divorced from the result that we do see in reality. So I would want to come back so that we speak about this idea and how to defeat the idea that has built the nudist colony that I will be speaking about today. See, like I said, when I have an idea running around in my head, what tends to happen is that it is almost impossible for me to do any level of introspection without ending up coming back to the central idea that is behind my current stream of consciousness. So yeah, we're closer to 10 o'clock now. But in all honesty, I had posted earlier on that you guys should take a look at Genesis chapter 1, verses 7 to 11. For those of you who are already online, you might want to just take a look at it. I wouldn't want to spend too much time reading it to anyone, but the key idea and what I really need you to see in reading that part of Genesis, you would have gleaned immediately. You start with chapter 7, but with verse 7, but is driven home, I believe, by what you find by the time you're closing on verse 11. So still got a couple of minutes, and there's no point in killing time. But what do we do with the 2 minutes that will be productive? Yeah, let's think about it. A man wants you to congratulate him for being your president. Oh, Lordy. So I am supposed to clap for the thief that broke into my home and whose brother happened to be the judge who freed him. So I'm supposed to congratulate him for gaining his freedom. I've seen many people post online in recent times, especially since we have all been baptized. The crown of a king does not sit well on the head of a thief. It's not my president. I don't know if he's yours, but he's not my president. And he knows it. That's the beauty of the situation. So, it's 10 o'clock now. Okay, this one says 9:59. That one says 10 o'clock. All right. Good morning, everybody. I know that a lot of you were shocked by what happened with the pronouncement of the Nigerian Supreme Court. But I've promised myself that I'm not going to waste time, too much time, on that subject. But because I know that it's on your minds, it is important that I touch on it briefly, because it is equally pertinent to the subject of my discussion this morning. I deliberately picked the topic, and in picking the topic, I said the Nudist Colony. In picking the Nudist Colony, I was deliberate. I was going to say Nigeria, the Nudist Colony, but I felt it was a waste of time. There is no need to qualify it any longer. We might as well just say the Nudist Colony. You already know the only thing that gets me going, the basis of all my exertion, is Nigeria. So there was no need to add the word Nigeria, but of course I am referring to Nigeria as the Nudist Colony. So what is a Nudist Colony? Yeah, I know some of you are kinky enough to have read up on it if you haven't heard about it before, but essentially, a Nudist Colony is a place where people who have a fetish for walking around naked go, but they have the decency and the presence of mind to find some secluded part of town, and that's why it's called a colony. So for you to live in a nudist colony or to visit a nudist colony, you have, or you must be presumed to have consented to being visited with sight of everybody else's nudity, and you are prepared, of course, to show yours. So everybody is going around stark ass naked. Shriveled dick, long dick, small dick, big dick, shriveled breast, every part, everybody is going around stark ass naked, because that is the nature of a nudist camp. So when you now have a nation or a country described essentially as a nudist camp or a nudist colony, the question that must be asked is, how is this possible? But think about it. Let's think about it. If you went into the Bible and you read from Genesis chapter 1, verses 7 to 11, you'll find that one of the first things that happened with Adam was that Adam had knowledge of the fact of his nudity. He was aware of the fact of his nudity. So when he was going to respond to the fact of his nudity, he stitched together fig leaves. He covered his essentials. He couldn't, of course, clothe himself completely, but he covered his essentials. This was a man that was conscious of the fact of his nudity. That is the importance of the reference text that I asked you to read. Adam had the presence of mind to know that he was naked, and he took steps to cover his nudity. Now, be careful to understand that before you can solve any problem, you must first of all identify the problem. Now, I have had occasion to speak to a subject in the past, and I wrote about it. You'll find it on my website. I said, play God or play dog. You play God when you affect a situation, when you do something about a situation and you are able to change the situation because you are blessed to do something about it. That is you playing God. You play dog when you draw attention to the existence of an anomaly. So you're barking. So you can call me a dog. I'm barking. I'm drawing attention to the fact that we've become a nudist colony. a nudist colony. Don't worry, we'll get there bit by bit. But think about it. Adam took steps, he covered his nudity. Now, if we have not recognized the fact that we are naked, it becomes next to impossible to do anything to cover our nudity. So it is important that we ask ourselves, what has stopped us from seeing the fact of our abject nudity? I'll tell you, religion. Religion. Because of religion, the other person, we see him first as a Muslim. We see him first as a Christian. We see the person first as Igbo. We see the person first as Fulani. We see the person first as Ijo. We see the person first as Kalabari, as Yoruba, as Isoko. We don't see the humanity of the person. We see the person first as rich or as poor, as educated or uneducated. We do not humanize ourselves. So, because we have used one of these multiple cloaks, we have views of the persons that we should see as human, and we have equally forced ourselves, deluded ourselves into subjectivizing the truth of what we see. So even though we see abject nudity, we cover the person's nudity with his religion, with his tribe. So he's your tribesman. He can't be a thief. He's your tribesman. He's not a forger. He's your tribesman. He's not a murderer. We find the many reasons why we cannot see the nudity of what we see. And we've become a nation of nudists. Because anybody who is not wearing the blinkers we're wearing can surely see the nudity that we are refusing to see. But I jump ahead myself. You remember Jesus Charlie, when some Islamist idiots, fundamentalists, went to town in France, and they were busy murdering French people. I believe, maybe, I can't remember the numbers now. But how can I remember? Because it was in that same week when we were busy Jesuing Charlie and mourning the death in Paris. Hundreds were being bombed to death in Baga. So we were Jesuing Charlie, but we could not find the outrage for the murders taking place in our own space on a daily basis. A Frenchman, a policeman, I believe it was a terrorist attack at a Carrefour supermarket somewhere outside Paris. He was killed in the course of duty. And the French president, the whole of Europe, the entire world's attention was focused on the tragic death of this solitary, singular French policeman. Our president, the entire Nigeria, literati, everybody. But that same week, multiple service men, Nigerian soldiers, were murdered by Boko Haram. Our president did not bat an eye, and he did not visit the cemetery. Why is this relevant? It is relevant because it says how we do not see ourselves. How we look at ourselves without seeing our own humanity, but we seem to have developed this ultra capacity to feel the humanities of other people. George Floyd, remember that black guy? The one that was killed, can't breathe. Millions of Nigerians can't breathe. The police is choking and shooting and killing every day. But our own humanity does not appear to matter now, does it? It doesn't. So, maybe it is time that we begin to look at something that we are refusing to see. And what is this thing that we are not seeing? We appear to have evolved multiple standards for the measurement of sanity. Even words are taking on new meanings in our space. Of course, bogus, for instance, which should mean false, has come to Nigeria to become big. Democracy has come to Nigeria to find new meaning. But what does the world see when they look at us? Since we do not appear capable of seeing our abject nudity. The world sees a foolish people. They see us in our complete nudity. We're incapable of fooling them. You remember how it is that you find it very difficult to tell Chinese people apart. Some of you even have difficulties telling Oyibos apart when they're packed together. Remember that? If you also won't be honest with yourself, a lot of you still can't tell a lot of Chinese people apart even when they're stood side by side. In reality, that is exactly how we are to the rest of the world. They can't tell us apart. They don't know the Yoruba man. They have no knowledge of the Igbo man. They don't know the Fulani man, at least not until you begin to talk about those who use us against ourselves. All they see are foolish people. They just see foolish people. You might speak to them about, the Igbo people are very cunning people. Yes, they are the ones spoiling my country. Oh, the Fulani people, don't mind those ones. They are all of them are headsmen and terrorists. And the Hausa, say one thing. Everything you say about one, you're saying about all, because they can't tell the difference between you. So, whilst you're busy defining your hated brothers and sisters, remember that you are also defining you to those you're speaking outside of our shores. They do not define us by any of our contrived differences. I'll share an experience. I was in Dubai, and that was one of the reasons why I do not particularly like visiting that country, and it's why I've not been there in almost over 10 years. I believe the last time I was there would be 2008 or something along those lines. But here is the key thing. I came out of an elevator at the mall, and this Arab youth, an Emirati, looked at me. I was with my wife. Came out of the elevator. They were going to come in, and he pointed at me and he was shouting, "Kafri, Kafri, Kafri." If you know the true meaning of the word kafir and its root, you would understand that it simply means a slave. So for the Arab, even though you travel every day to Mecca and Medina, wherever you care to go in the Arab world, outside of the pretense of religiosity, you're just another kafir. Knock your head 20 times on the floor in front of him, that's all you are. Your religion is between you and your God. He doesn't send you. The same for you Christians. You go up and down the place, you define everybody else by your faith, and then you talk down, you define everybody else in that way. They don't remember your faith. They were the ones who brought the damn Christianity into our shores. So when you start defining yourself by what they brought to you, that they live by the precepts, but you are not living by the precepts, even though you are mounting the protestations, They see you for what you are, a bunch of foolish hypocrites, religious bigots. They can't even begin to understand how religion captured your minds to the point that you kill yourselves. So, all that bit about you defining Mr. B, Mr. A, Mr. D, and all that one based on their religion, based on their ethnicity, you're just defining you as far as they're concerned. They see you for who you are. They see all of us for who we are. They see us, particularly we Nigerians, because we are the most proliferate when it comes, to traveling. We are very, very prolific. We're just like water hyacinths. Everywhere. We go everywhere, and we're everywhere. If you like, say it's the Igbo man. If you like, say it's the Yoruba man. I know Fulanis rarely ever settle outside Nigeria, but I assure you, we define who we are to the whole world. They don't separate us. Oh, Nigerians are drug pushers. It's all of us. Nigerians are certificate forgers. It is all of us. They see all of us. All of us. That's what they see. Nigerians are drug pushers, terrorists. They see all of us. All of us. So let's be clear about something. Our rulers, the ruiners of Nigeria, what they have done is that they have ignored to understand the fact that they are the ones that are seen as the most foolish by those using them to keep us down. They make the money, they take it abroad into foreign coffers. They take their children, they take them abroad to foreign lands. These children grow up estranged from the land of their ancestors. The wealth leaves and it stays out there. And all of us, we sit down and we bemoan what we are the ones capable of changing. Why do I say that? We are a nation of nudists. I'll tell you. We are refusing to see ourselves and to proffer the solutions to our own problem. If we continue to pretend that what we see is not what we see, the solutions to our problems will never come. The king is naked, but nobody is telling the king. This democracy is done. That is one of the things that I'm saying to you this morning. I've brought you a mirror so that you will see. We are naked. There is no democracy, none. There is no justice, none. All the lies that we have told ourselves, it does not exist. The Nigerian democratic experience came to an end on the day the Supreme Court found the grace to deliver what it delivered. I'm simply saying to you that we're all nude. We've used words to deceive ourselves. Democracy, there is none. So what I have come to do this morning is to give you a mirror to see that we need to start deciding what we do going forward, because this is where we are. We are naked, completely naked. And the naked truth is that, one, you're not citizens. If you are going to become, you're going to have to demand it and become it. Two, we don't have a democracy. If our votes are going to count, it will be because we count. So, what is the point of telling you you are naked? The point of telling you you are naked is, one, let you understand, do not prepare for any election in 2027. There is not going to be any election unless there are substantive changes to the entire systems. So, be clear as to exactly who you are and where you are is a nudist colony. We are not who they are telling us we are. When you take off all the gowns of your religion, of your ethnicity, you're left with nothing because you are not a citizen. That is the connection that I'm seeking to let you make this morning. See, the Yorubas have this proverb. Wọ́n ní wọ́n ń wò ẹ́ láwò rẹ́rìn, láwò sunkún, òun wòra ẹ́ láwò rẹ́rìn. The way we see ourselves is different from the way the world is seeing us. The value of any intervention I might bring this morning is to put a mirror in front of you to let you see that far from what you might think, we are not where we need to be, and we are nowhere near what we think that we are. The Europeans look to Nigerians as the standard for who the black man is, especially the anglicized part. And they look to the Congolese in the French-speaking Africa, part of the world. And what do you see? People do not see themselves for who they truly are. The Africans, they look at us and they're disappointed, especially the ones on the street. They're disappointed by the excuse that we have offered their own rulers for their failures. So we, as a people, we need to behold that mirror and be clear about what we are seeing in that mirror if we are not to become reactionaries. Reactions will be protest without clarity as to exactly the purpose. I'm not knocking protest. I'm not saying no to protest. Let's be clear about that. I'm simply saying, what are we looking to achieve? But again, that's another subject, and probably one for next week. I have served a man known as Peter Gregory Obi as a spokesperson, and it has been an honor. I owe it to him to let him speak to what he sees as the way forward and not preempt him. But what I need you to know, which is the purpose of this morning's talk, is that we are not as cloaked or veiled as we might imagine ourselves to be. We're actually a nudist colony. The whole world can see us for what we are. The world sees us. The Supreme Court can blind itself as much as it cares. It makes no difference. The world sees us. I was informed during the course of last week that at a public function, some clown purporting to speak as a secretary general, maybe of a section of the NBA, or maybe it's the general secretary, I don't know which one of them it was purported to have said that, named me specifically as one of those that they are planning to write petitions to the LPDC, that's the Legal Practitioner Advisory Committee, that I had been denigrating the judiciary. You see, the problem with such mindless clowns is that they forget that truth is an absolute defense to any libel, be that civil or criminal. But before I even had a chance to respond to the clown, that Tijo answered him at his valedictory. I might not be the sane person to point out the madness that has overtaken our judiciary, but Atijo spoke eloquently. All I have done, all I have ever done, is hold up a mirror. That mirror is for the society to look at itself. I invent nothing. I hate nobody. I simply say what I see. I dare the NBA or anybody to dare. I dare them, I quadruple dare them to haul me up to come and justify my assertions about the uselessness of our judiciary. I'll be glad to. I'll be glad to. Let it happen. So, dear friends, it's a short service this morning. It is essentially meant to scarify your mind, force you to confront the realities of our existence. If we are going to become citizens, you are going to have to be prepared for a long slog. Protest is not going to work against this system, in my view. If you are protesting, let it be because we have an end in sight. What is that end? The only end that makes sense, as far as I'm concerned, is an end to this governance system. It's not just about Tinubu, it's about the totality of the system. If you have not seen anything, the Supreme Court's decision should have pointed it out to you. When the last hope of the common man is hopeless, why are we still fooling ourselves? What will happen in 2027? Who is Tinubu going to appoint to INEC? Because let's face it, that's the person who will appoint whoever is going to go to INEC to supervise the 2027 election. Which court is going to hear your infractions? Which court? This same court? So let's be clear. I know how. I don't have a monopoly of wisdom. I'm sure over the coming days, weeks, and months, we're going to all come to the knowledge of the fact that this system has to come to an end. The only thing I'm sure of is that we must be deliberate and careful about avoiding violence, because this system is deliberately designed to engage violent people who are looking to change it. A desire to see no blood spilled. But that desire to see no blood spilled does not in any way, shape, or form take away from my conviction that this system must not only be confronted, it must be changed. It can deliver nothing good. It is incapable of delivering anything good. So be clear. We're living in a nudist colony, even though we all pretend to be adequately clothed. If the very shirt on our back is not going to be taken off completely by this system, it will be because we, as a people, as a collective, united ourselves and then rose up against it. If we don't, it will consume us and it will consume our children. Like my dear friend Moses Loko just posted, mirror, mirror on the wall, behold yourself, Nigeria. Say, damn Nudist Colony. Have a blessed week, everybody. And yes, we shall win. We shall. Let me touch on that. I'm not going to leave without explaining this to you. It is in the nature of truth to always win, regardless of how victorious the lie might appear in the moment. You would even notice that this particular lie has not even been able to crow. We win, always. The truth always wins. Enjoy the rest of your blessed week. God bless you. Bye-bye.